To both, reading Coach's comments, felt like you guys started real strong in the first two events, and then maybe some momentum was lost after that. And then he also said maybe the preparation last week wasn't fantastic. What did you take away from that?
Yeah, I would say that we really did a awesome job starting fast this weekend, and I think that we're still working out some kinks as to just our approach weekly as to how we're going to attack the season. We have a new team this year, so every practice is going to look different than it did last year, and so we're still trying to figure out what our preparation needs to look like for each person and what their process needs to look like for that. And so we're just trying to figure that out. We're still early in the year. We're only 4 meets in, and so we're hoping that we learned a lot from this meet and that we'll take everything that we learned, we'll take the good, we'll leave some of the bad, and just move on into this next meet with that momentum.
Chase, I know this last meet wasn't probably what you wanted, especially with the end result, but you had a really good showing. How do you kind of carry that into Mizzou, and what did you like about what you did last week?
Yeah, I'm very happy with my performances. Obviously, we're all very disappointed with the outcome, but I think just staying true to ourselves and our identity is what's going to help us push forward for the next meet.
Chase, we'll stay with you. I guess I'm sure. Did you guys ask about Livy's post already? No. Okay. So I'm sure you saw it, right? Like, how much of that is now kind of seeping into your head now that we've got like maybe 4 weeks of seeing what the scores are versus what we might expect them to be?
I think really it's just not our focus right now. Liv's our teammate. We love her. We support her. And so I think with her tweet, that was just good intentions. She just wants to grow the sport. And so we're going to support her through that.
And for both of you, you guys are kind of really turning into rocks, for your performances, individually. I guess how pleased were you with kind of your contributions? Actually, you've been able to replicate it week after week now, but just the idea of kind of making sure that you're hitting your part and then maybe expanding your part as you can as practice progresses throughout the season.
Yeah, it's just really focusing on my process each day, each week. Try not to focus on the good and the bad too much, just staying true to myself and just doing what I can for this team, just knowing that I can put out good routines is the main focus.
I think similarly to Chase, it's just the process, especially being an upperclassman now. I've really been able to lock that down, and on bars especially, it's been pretty simple for me to just stick to the same thing every week, and it's been manufacturing very consistent results. So I'm very happy with that, making sure not to focus too much on the little things and to just keep moving forward because I know I can do the routine well. As for other events, I'm hoping to just continue to push those that are in lineup, but also try to make my own way and try to figure out what works best for me over there so that I can do the same thing that I did on bars last year and kind of figure out what the process is going to look like for Beeman and Vault.
It's interesting that Haley's here because she's a bit of a robot, right, when it comes to that. You seem to have kind of reached that spot where she always says she doesn't think about it, right? She just goes out there and does it. Is that kind of how you feel your bars routine is right now? And you're starting to get a little bit of acclaim, because of it.
Yeah, I would say that we had a lot of seniors that were super impactful last year, and that helped us, I guess, kind of lock down a process. I mean, Haley was very helpful on bars, and she's kind of helped me step into a role that is similar to what she did last year, and just the way that she was super dependable and just a really big rock in the lineup. And I think the big thing for me is to just focus on replicating every week, creating momentum, and allowing that to propel our lineup, ahead as we finish.
For both of you, you guys have seen a lot of gymnastics. How do you help the freshmen along who are kind of beating themselves up right now, it feels like, with every little mistake they make?
I think for me, it's often just reminding them to just slow it down a little bit, and that it's not entirely on their shoulders, that it's split among all of us that are on the team, even those that aren't competing, that we all are responsible for everything that happens, and we all have a special role. And so while some of them are stepping into these huge roles as freshmen, it's like extremely impressive, and I'm super proud of them. And so oftentimes it's just reminding them to, take a second and to just slow it down and to give themselves some grace in that too, because I mean we're competing for one of the top universities, and so there's a lot of pressure that comes with that.
I mean, I think Ash said it perfectly. I mean, they're coming from being more individual and like everything is more focused on them, and when they come into college, it's as a team. So just reminding them that we do it for each other. Not one person is at fault for any mistake or anything. Like we do this as a team, and so just reminding them of that and just creating a good atmosphere for everybody is the most important.
Ashley, y'all are the only one of only 4 teams in the country that's averaging over 197 this early in the season, and it's the 4 teams you probably would expect to be at the top of the rankings. So y'all had a score like you had the other day and only dropped to 3rd in the country. What does that say about scoring and judging this year? I mean, are you guys surprised when you see the score come up for you or someone else or someone on the other team sometimes? And where do you think it'll change? Where do you think it goes from here?
I think a big thing that we're focusing on as a team is more of qualitative work rather than quantitative. Not focusing on the numbers, but more so the quality of the routine and how we feel about it. Just because we know that the scores are different this year. And I honestly haven't looked into it too much myself just because I don't think that's something that we really need to focus on. But it's more so putting out the best product that we can every week.
Rab Cobble, same guy. Chase, can you brag on Ashley a little bit and just her bar routine? That's right, you got to take it. Just, kind of refining it over the last couple of years to the point that it's at right now.
It's honestly so admirable seeing Ash's growth throughout the years. I feel like I see myself in her from like our time when we first stepped in as freshmen to like now, and just you can see that confidence, and like before she even gets up on that event, like you can see it in her face, what she's gonna do, and I think that's just shows the kind of character she is, the kind of discipline that she has like outside of the gym, and so just really admirable and really proud of her, and I'm just excited to see what the future has for her.
Oh, thanks, Chase. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Loft me a softball. Do I get to put this up, or is that okay? Okay, I don't know sponsorship deals. This is my first time, if you haven't noticed, so. Oh, the one that was too small for me? Yes, yes. That will not be making a comeback anytime soon. So, the sizes in Asia are a little bit different than the ones in the United States. That's all I have to say. So. Okay. Yeah. First off, credit to Arkansas. The best team won on that night. They had a great environment there. They're finally doing all their meets in Bud Walton, which is a great step for that program. I know personally from coaching there in the past. That's a big step, and it's good for the sport. We did not have our best night, and that reflected. You can blame it on scores and some other things, but at the bottom line, the end of the night, we just didn't do our job, and that's kind of what happened. So we always talk about what happens next is most important, and that's what we're focused on this week with Missouri. Jay always says it's the 5 minutes in front of your face, and that's what we have in front of us. Missouri is a great team. They're going to come in here and be competitive. They're coming off a good SEC home win against Kentucky this past week, and so we're going to look to take our best step forward this next week against Missouri.
Jay will appreciate you shouting out the arena.
Yeah, it matters.
How much of it, the messaging is always don't concern yourself with the judging and the scores.
Yeah.
How much of it do you really have to reiterate now that it's becoming a topic?
Yeah, kind of like Cowan just alluded to, we're so focused on what we can control. We could have gone and wired 1 through 24 and still got the same score this weekend. That's just kind of where we are. And so we talk to the team every week about not focusing on what the judges are doing or what the scores are doing. We can control what we can control. And if you go out and hit a meet and a 196.6 is the best you can do, that's the best you can do on that night. And so we're just more focused on what we can control. They alluded to their process, just sticking to who we are. Not letting that affect us and not being about the scores, because you could go out there and not put a good performance together and have a huge 197. That happens as well too. So It's an inconsistency in our sport, and we're trying to address it with the scoreboard thing, but there's no perfect solution. There's no silver bullet to this, and so we're just going to continue to focus on what we can control, and that is our gymnastics.
I guess my question about the freshmen as well.
Yeah.
You heard it. I mean, just it seems like there's that acclimation, right, to understanding it's not all on them.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a valuable lesson that they've had to learn so far. I know Kaylin had to learn that a couple weeks back, and just that it's now a team sport and it's not just about them. And so I know she had a mistake. I can't remember if it was the Florida or the meet before that, but just went up to her after that and was like, this is what it's about. It's a team sport now, and your team's got your back. And so, in this case, she had their back on events, and they had her back on events. And obviously, there were mistakes throughout the lineup, but this is all part of growing and learning. And I think Lexi's had to adjust to it too, and Kalia's had to adjust to it to a smaller degree since she's only been on one event. But it's a team sport, and it's not all on your shoulders. And I think the more that they go through this process, they're learning that it's more fun that way. It's more enjoyable, right? That it's not just all on you at the end of the day, and that you have an incredible team around you that has your back. So I think that they're starting to figure that out, and you can kind of see it. You can definitely see it with Lexi Zeiss. I mean, that kid loves to compete with this team and loves to be at LSU. So I think that's a valuable lesson that they're learning as freshmen, and hopefully that'll propel them forward the next couple of years.
You mentioned Kalia as the vault coach. What's going on there?
Well, Kalia is a very powerful athlete. So she did a Yurchenko double full, which is an extra half twist when she was an elite. And so we brought her back to the 1.5. She had come in after Olympic trials, and her shoulder was really hot, and her Achilles was really hot from all the training and stuff that she did leading up to the Olympic push. And so we took some time off in the fall. She had trained the 1.5 a little bit in club, but it was something that was going to be better for her body, and she doesn't get to vault a lot throughout the week because of that. And so with the minimal numbers, we went with that, and so she's really trying to make the most out of her turns during the week. We've talked about it. We are going to try the double now that we feel like the Achilles and the shoulder are in a good spot. We've been able to manage it to where late November to this point, we've really been able to calm things down a little bit, and so we're in a better spot now, and so we will try to train that again. I know she wants to train it again, and she's tired of running off the landing mat on the end of vault. But she did a great job. She did a fantastic job. I mean, she stepped up for her team and did a vault that she's never done before, and I know it wasn't comfortable for her necessarily, and she had to rein in her power a little bit, but we'll look to move forward with the double and see how far we get and see how our body handles that.
Lay the title lead recruiter on you. Maybe you don't want to characterize yourself as such,
boy.
but what has that been like lately, and now with the national championship, in banner hanging in the PMAC, you guys have gotten and are getting a lot of people who are national team members and Olympic alternates and Olympic gold medalists who's coming in a couple of years. Yeah, what has it been like lately? And is it? I know so much is different, but what is different for you right now in recruiting?
I think it's ever changing. I think that's to be seen with this House settlement and where it goes. So much of it in the past for us has been about relationships. I mean, obviously LSU sells itself. You've got sellout crowds, you've got all the resources you could imagine. But for us and our staff, it's really been relational in our recruiting. And I think that I don't know that it necessarily will change, but it could with you're introducing revenue sharing, all these other things into it. NIL is now a piece of it as well. So as you move to a different model, it's going to be an adjustment because it's not only going to be about relationship building at this point. It will be something financial attached to it. We just don't know what that will look like yet. But I think that the relationship piece is always going to be important to us, and it's always going to be a factor, and we want people who want to be at LSU. If it's about the relationship, then you're getting the right type of athlete.
Follow up on that tact real quick. Obviously, so much has been focused on, how does this affect football and how does this affect maybe men's basketball? Something, but the challenges are not very different in gymnastics compared to these other sports. Yes.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think all of us are looking at it in terms of you're going to have to manage a salary cap in a sense from what it's going to be. And so where you put those priorities and stuff in your roster and how you build your roster is going to be largely dependent upon what type of resources you're going to be working with. And so you got to build the best roster and best model that fits our sport. It won't be too dissimilar to basketball, I think, in terms of roster size and how professional teams build their rosters. I think it'll be somewhat similar for us in gymnastics. It certainly won't be football, certainly, but it's going to be a unique challenge. We're looking forward to it, and hopefully we'll have some idea in the spring as far as what is that going to look like moving forward, because we just still don't know at this point.
Jay said after the meet that the preparation wasn't tremendous last week, and was it a bit choppy with the snowstorm and whatnot, and
Yeah.
Your schedule and
Yeah.
all that?
Yeah. What they call it, Snowmageddon. I don't know. My kids had the whole week off of school. I know that. So, the preparation was a little bit choppy. I think, he came in here and talked about how mature this group competed against Florida, and they did. This past weekend, we didn't see the same level of maturity in our competition, and I think that was a reflection of our preparation. I think this group is still learning the value of how you compete. A large amount of the time is how you prepare, and you got to prepare the right way. Last week was a little bit up and down. You had to be flexible with the schedule and training and stuff like that, given the closings and everything. But we have to put a premium on what we do in the gym every day, because eventually it will catch up to you in the competition arena, and I think that did on Friday night.
Jay has talked about how hard it is to win when you're not at home, and especially at away games, SEC games. How important will it be to be back in the PMAC for these next two stretch of games, which are tough competition?
That's a huge advantage. I mean, just look at what happened at Arkansas. I mean, I don't know how many were in there Friday night, 10,000, 11,000. I don't know what the final count was. But, we went to Beam with a 2 1/4 tenth lead, and in the SEC, that's nothing. You're tied. Because we always say when you go away, you got to be 2 or 3 tenths better than the other team to beat them on their floor, and that's what a home floor advantage does for you. And so when you're at home in the PMAC, you feel good about it. I mean, you got 13,000 people. It's loud. Hopefully we're not doing the wave through the opponent's beam rotation this time. That's not cool. But it's a huge advantage for us to be on our home floor this weekend.
Just, we're talking about all this. How much of this is good struggles, right?
Yeah.
It's still early in the season. And
100%, 100%. I mean, like I said, if we had gone out there and wired one and put a 198 up on the road, the message would be the same. We're still going to look to the next meet. What happens next is the most important thing. You can't get wrapped up in the highs. You can't get wrapped up in the lows, because it's such a long season. And the way that our season lays out, we'll be able to drop this road score if we do well in the next remaining road meets. And so it's not the end of the world. It's something that obviously is a little bit of a wake-up call, which is great, because it is early on in the season. You have time to do something about it. You have a time to make a response. But at the same time, it's not going to hold us back for the rest of the season. Jay, come on. Really? Thank you. Yeah. Who? So for Haley, we are going to try to go over the vault table today. I can't guarantee what the timeline will be for her, but she is going to try that, see how she responds. She's responded really well to floor and beam the past 2 weeks. She's doing really well. She's in a good spot. So hopefully, if we can add that third event, hopefully we'll be good. We're not going to rush the process again because we're so early in the season. With a couple of guys too, KJ hopefully will be able to vault this week. We're going to try that. And then Kalia she's doing full floor routines on the rod floor. Hopefully she'll punch the spring floor this week and see how her body handles that. So we could be getting some guys moving here in the next couple of weeks, which is exciting because we haven't put our full slate of people out there yet, I don't think. And so it's good momentum in that direction. We just got to keep going that way.